Here we go.
Let's go.
So we're meeting today to review a new feature called Resource Hub. Adriano has been working on it last few weeks, so he's here to show it to us. And in short, what Resource Hub is, it's a place within a space where a team can create documents and upload any type of file and organize these things into folders. So really the idea is to really enable people to share important resources within a group on one central place, and enable also discussions through comments and through comments on all these resources.
We should probably give some examples, like, I mean, just a basic example for me is, monthly reports, quarterly reports, maybe some invoices with customers, some documentation, how to do something in your organization. So these documents usually accumulate over time, and people usually use, let's say, Google Docs or Microsoft, some alternative for that. But of course, that repeats that same mistake of like scattering various documents across various applications, which are not even connected to the rest of your team. And of course, we want to simplify that. If you're working in a legal team, you should have the project's goals, everything in one place with the files and the reports and everything that you basically need to operate your team or just do basic day-to-day stuff.
Yeah, so a few more examples. If you're working on some kind of product feature, like this place is where you could store like graphical mockups, graphical assets. Obviously, any kind of PDF document is a good fit. But I'm actually kind of more. I think I'll personally use the documents feature more. So documents are kind of like rich text documents native inside Operately. So, for example, there are things that we are kind of maybe researching or thinking about, kind of like I want to have like common notes, certain things, either regarding a product or maybe some kind of internal procedure doesn't make sense to be public. So these things are good, also a good fit for documents.
Maybe you can show them. This is a good point.
Yeah. So I will share my screen. So that's how it looks like when it's empty, right? We don't have anything here yet. And then we can, add documents, folder, and upload files. I think in the future, we're also going to have links here, but we haven't implemented that yet. So I think I'll start with some file. So I can just drag it here and then add the name. And the description is optional. And then I can save the file. Okay, so let's add a folder as well. So this would be folder. Here we have how many items we have in the folder. And here in the image, we only have the size of the image, but if we had the description, then we would also see the beginning of the description here as well. So maybe I can show that again. So if we have a description, we can see it here, right? Then when we open an image, so we can see the description, the name of the file, the type of the file, and then people can comment, interact with the image, similarly to how we do with other resources at Operatlib. And we can also subscribe to notifications, so you can add people who will be notified when someone comments or edits or deletes the resource. Yeah, and I guess I can show how documents work as well. So we can add a title to the document, so the content. And here, this is rich text, so we can also add images and videos and other files to the body of the document. We can also make it bold or underline, all the supported things of rich text. I guess just to demonstrate, I can add an image here as well. So, and the rest is pretty much like with files. So we can comment, interact with it, subscribe to notifications. This part, they are pretty much similar. And yeah, I guess it would be this, like the practical part of it.
Can we, I noticed that, can we edit the description on the image?
I think,
because I noticed that you added a new image though.
Yeah, I think we cannot edit yet. No, we don't have this possibility yet. We can download and delete at the moment. But yeah, that would be like an obvious action to add, right?
So, okay. So here, another image. That's the title. That's the title of the file. It's left aligned. Okay, so if I wanted to move something to a folder, it currently seems no way, right?
Yeah, no, we don't have that yet.
That moving around is probably, now that I think about it, a must-have, because even like in small testing, people would create those, several folders and files, and then you want some way to organize things around.
Yeah, to the point. Yeah, to the point where it's even like if we cannot. I mean, it's not. It's not a super hard task, but it's if we were to ship this to a large number of people, I would even say like let's not ship folders without the moving operation, because it's the folders just make you want to organize stuff, and if you cannot organize them, what's the point?
I suppose the backend part of it would be very simple, like very trivial to do it. I'm just not sure how would the UI look like? Like, how would you select which folder? Would you just like drag and drop? Like, how would we move this to a different folder?
Probably see a pop-up where you have a drop down of like all possible folders in the space.
I think that Google Docs has a good solution for it. It's something like you right click on something, it says move, and then it basically has a mini explorer that only shows folders, and you can go into a folder, then it would move it to that subfolder.
Yeah, but that's potentially that's the most powerful, but potentially much harder than like a simple list. But they kind of have to do it that way. because in Drive you can really have a large, very deep hierarchy. If it would make our life significantly easier, we could maybe here assume that a few levels deep is kind of as far as people will go in the early days. But anyway, we'll see.
I'm just thinking about the implementation. While I don't know it 100%, I know that like listing folders in one folder is something that we already have implemented and screens for that.
Mhm.
So just jumping into a folder should be on that simple-ish level. I mean, from the backend side, definitely. Even on the front-end side, it should be simple, let's say. But of course, Adriano is better to comment on this. I just read the pull request, so.
Yeah, I think this option for you to, I guess we would kind of be able to navigate the folders, right? So for example, you would select to change the folder, and then you would see only the folders that are available here. But then I would, like, for example, select this folder, and then I would see what are my options, right? So I would kind of navigate. So I can navigate nested folders, I guess. I don't think it would be that difficult to implement this. I think it would be similar to what we have right now, because like right now we can just keep going from folder to folder, right? So I think the logic would be similar. Yeah, I wouldn't say it would be trivial, but I don't think it would be too hard to implement it. I think it would be very similar to what we have right now, actually.
So is this so the little thumbnails are actually thumbnails, right? So they are new images that I think we didn't have this before technically.
Yeah, you mean when we upload an image,
Yeah.
we have this little thumbnail here. Yeah, when you upload an image, it generates in the browser. It generates a very small version of this image, and then it uploads both of them. One as the actual image, and another as a preview. So this is actually much smaller than this one, right? So this is what
Wow,
is
that's very,
happening.
yeah. That's cool because like many years ago, browsers could not do this, and then you had to have an image processing capability on the back end.
Yeah,
Cool.
and we didn't have to use any library for that. It was just native stuff in the browser.
I remember that I discussed this once with Marko, like we need to have like preview images. And I just thought back to my Rails days. I'm like, no, I need to set up, even if it's simple to set it up in Rails, it was always like, okay, it is introducing more resource intensive operations on the backend. And when I saw that Adriano just, in the JavaScript, like, whoop, made a small image, like amazing. We are living in the future.
Yeah, yeah. No, PTSD is a serious condition in our field.
I mean, the next step would probably be, you upload an image, and then there is some AI magic that gives you a description what is on the image. But yeah, probably for the next year.
Yeah, there are like details like but I would not spend time during this meeting now. I mean things like when you upload a file, and then we could make it a bit easier for people so that we pre-fill the name field with the file name without the extension, for example. So that at the end you can upload with basically with one click, unless you want to write a description. A drag drop is cool. I don't know if it would be great if we could then, if you could like detect that somebody is like dragging inside and then show a little overlay, like, sure, drop it here. Some apps have that. Do you know what I mean?
I think yes, and I was thinking about this when I was implementing this. I actually I saw how this is implemented in Google Drive and Gmail, but I just couldn't come up with I think my limitations about design, like I couldn't come up with something that looked nice. So then I implemented this little pop-up that appears. Yeah. But probably so small that you didn't even notice, right?
Yeah,
So,
I didn't know.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe
you don't have to. It's not. This is one of those, I think, where you don't. It's not a design thing, like something that, in my opinion, requires some visual idea. But if you would just make that little rectangle, if you would center it on the screen and then darken everything else, that's all you need, basically.
Yeah, I think I understand what you're saying. So then we wouldn't show this pop-up, right?
You would. I'm just suggesting that you center it on the like in the middle of the screen.
Oh,
show
I
it in the
see.
middle, and then you emphasize it by darkening everything else on the screen.
Mm-hmm. Makes
Kind of
sense.
like how everything is darkened when you show any kind of pop-up.
Mm-hmm. Makes sense. Yeah, I think it would be easy just to change this. Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to jump in and to break the conversation, but we actually have such a system for discussions. Maybe you can take a look, and maybe that system can just work here.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe create a new discussion and try to post something over. It should do something.
Like this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we are not seeing the files that you are dragging over because Google is probably not showing them.
Mm-hmm.
But whenever you drag something over, whenever your mouse is on top of this screen, it will show this drop zone.
Yep, I'm not sure if this would work there though, because there you have because here you have this specific area, right? And there you have like the whole screen. So I'm not sure.
If it's the whole screen, highlight this whole screen, so people know where that it is the whole screen. Or the paper,
Mm-hmm. Actually, I don't remember if it is the whole screen or if it is just that main area. Let me check. No, it's the whole screen. Yeah, I guess you guys cannot see, right? But
no.
Yeah, it's the whole screen.
What happens if you, for example, drag multiple files?
Good question.
Like I assume that could happen, that you have a couple of PDFs that you want to just shove there.
So, but I remember the code. No, yeah, I remember the code because I actually get the list of files and just get the first one. So yeah. So for example, here I dragged 2 files, but only the first one is taken. And I remember that when you get that list of files, I was taking just the 0 index. So yeah.
Yeah, so supporting multiple files would require that this whole behavior is different. So it's not a singular pop-up, but more like something that's added inline, appended to the list. So you interact with the little widget that's appended to the list. And that way you could then have many,
I guess that also wouldn't be hard, but maybe then we could let the description out, and then we're going to add the possibility to add the description, to add it to the description, because then it would be very simple to just display many files, and then you can just rename them the way you want. But if we have the description, then I'm not sure how to fit everything here in the screen.
Yeah, we can explore that, but even omitting it doesn't sound like a bad idea. If you are, yeah.
I just noticed that it doesn't say cancel; it says change file.
Oh yeah, I think you guys probably cannot see, but if I click here, yeah, you cannot see, but I can choose another file in the system. So for example, here I just select another file, and to cancel, then you would actually click on the X. But I don't know if this is a good behavior, if it makes sense.
I mean, after a while, I even now I'm not doing this, so it's kind of fake, not entirely true. But let's say I forgot, I did not realize that you have already picked a file here, because the name of the file is like a third thing below the name and description. So yeah, I would probably it makes more sense to me that it's the first thing that you see, like after the header.
I mean, just pre-filling the name with the name of the file will help a lot.
Where are these icons? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I wanted another way that we can explore is, for example, instead of like when we say upload a file and then immediately going to the browser file picker, an alternative approach would be to show this page, and it has like a drop zone that is always present and allows you to, drag as many files as you want into it. Then it kind of solves the multi-file problem as well, and the visibility of the drop zone and everything. I'm not sure if I'm clear how that would look.
I would need a mockup.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask a different topic. Like, where are these icons coming from? Are they from the same package we use for other things?
Yeah, it's the same. I forgot the name. I think is it Tabler, the name? I think, but it's the same library we're using for other things.
I think that one problem that manifests itself when the icons are larger is that the library itself is naturally extending the line width. And that's why the icons are looking bold, or at least in my eyes, they're looking bold.
They're a bit too much, yeah.
So but I would leave that to, let's say, one design iteration. Maybe even I would give them some, background, and so let's say blue background with, very small thin line folder icon. I think it could help a lot. I have one topic that I didn't mention so far, but I'm interested in your thoughts. So if we go back to the space itself, I kind of like that the first two are very, like goals and project and discussions, are very they are explaining themselves. Like the first one is like goals and projects. It's not, execution hub or something.
Yeah, it's what it is. It's not. Yeah.
And then resource hub, like the feature itself, it makes sense to be called resource hub. But when we are presenting it to a user, maybe we can reduce that friction by calling them like very directly, documents and files or whatever other very self-descripting label we can put on them.
Yeah, I don't even recall the thought process at this point. Maybe the thing that we will introduce ability to add links, but even links are links to files, right? So I wouldn't object really. Of course, when we get to building at one point, like letting people have many of these, like many instances of more than one instance of, let's say, a resource hub or a message board, then at that point we will need to also allow people to potentially change the name, like give their own name to the whole section. So that's also just on the horizon.
Yeah, this, let's say, if you are sticking with documents and files, for example, then that would be the default name.
Mm.
As you are creating the second resource hub, it would say like documents and files 2 or some, maybe even something more creative.
Yeah, I would. I think we can just call it documents files or files and documents straight away, like not wait.
The other thing that I will maybe put out is, I see that in lots of places we are displaying like 236 kilobytes. And while that's interesting, it's when you are actually using it for day-to-day, I might think that that's not even an important information on this screen. Maybe when you are on that specific page, but here it's probably not bringing value.
Yeah, I think 100%. Normal people do not care about file size, like non-technical people.
Sometimes I'm even surprised. I talked recently with guy. He's into finances and like very deep in his work. But I noticed that he doesn't really get file sizes. He gets it to the level of, I'm not shaming him. I was just generally surprised that the knowledge that 1024 kilobytes is 1 megabyte. I thought that everyone knew that. Like that's like universal knowledge. Well, it's not. And I'm always surprised.
But does he know, like, does he have an idea that like 100 megabytes is
Actually, no.
what it is, No.
I noticed this on people who are working with, let's say, Windows. And Windows is very protective. They are not exposing you to this information. And they are not even exposing you today to the file paths. So someone who grew up with, let's say, Windows 10, Windows 11, they don't even naturally know what is a file path because it just doesn't exist anymore on Windows. So I'm always surprised by that, but
Okay. I mean, is it also what are we optimizing here? But by not using the little thumbnail of images?
Yeah, I think the only difference is that we're not like loading those thumbnails, but other than that, I think it would be the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just kind of universal. Like, you know, you start, even if you don't want to, like you start, like a photographic memory starts developing, and then you're like, it was like that on the previous, like a minute ago, and now it looks like something else. Like, what's going on? So since we already have like a little thumbnail, I would just go ahead and use that.
Yeah, I think that would be very simple to just swap the icon for the thumbnail. And on that thing about the size, if we remove this information here, okay, if the image has the description, then we'll display the description. But what if it doesn't? Would it just be empty, or is there something else that would be relevant for the user and we could display here?
I think that I would maybe even vote to just keep the name of the file and folders without the file size and descriptions, because this is a miniature preview of what is inside of it. And you as a user have the ability to change the name, so you can give it, you know, two-word meaningful value.
Yeah, it makes sense. So we would remove all the description and the subtitle, right? And add the thumbnails.
Does this? Does this support, like, if there are comments, would that be indicated here?
No, not here, and it wouldn't be displayed here either. Yeah.
Okay, we can address that separately.
I think one thing I could ask you is, what do you think about deleting files and folders? Because like so far, if you delete this, or rather, if you delete the file, I think you can delete the folder. No, I think I created the mutation in the backend to delete the folder. I think we're just not displaying here, right? But it's something I can add later. But anyway, we will have this possibility to delete a file or folder. But once you delete it, the user can't get it back. And maybe I think someone can delete something by mistake. I don't know if you plan on adding a bin or trash, something like that, where users can go and restore files. Because anyway, we're not deleting, right? We're just soft deleting, but the user will never have access to that again. So
well, I've seen apps where they have a distinction between archiving and deleting. I would not advocate for introducing like archiving feature like soon. I don't know. Personally, I'm not even sure what's the, you know, if there was really a space where we have so much stuff, I'd probably just move files into a folder called archive. Like, you know, if you still want to access it at some point, maybe then, you know, just park it somewhere.
But I think that this feature of the bin is more like protection against mistakes. Like, don't punish me if I, on accident, click delete, and they delete, you know, the whole folder and all the reports that we accumulated over the last 3 years. So I wouldn't introduce that archive and delete. Maybe I would go with, if you delete something, I mean later, but if you delete something, it by default go to the bin, and you have, I don't know, a week to restore stuff from there, which kind of, maybe not even a week, but it has the ability to preserve data and not punish you very hardly for simple mistakes. And this is probably easier even for us because instant deletion is not possible. So the only way is to mark something as deleted, and then the system in the background would either way do the cleanup, and we can just delay that cleanup for 24 hours and kind of solves both our problems and the potential problems of our users. Now, would we go on?
It's a bit of a wider, different and wider topic, but I just, you know, want to say regarding data deletion in general within the app, I would, you know, at Sanford we had a bit of a headache because for a long time we did not really address this, you know, everything was just append only. And it starts with this idea of like, okay, you know, people might want it back, and then, but then after you build a product with features upon features where nothing can effectively be permanently deleted, and then you kind of start facing the task of, you know, being like compliant and actually responding with a proof. So, you know, a customer just says, you know, I want proof that my data was deleted, you know, you got to provide that. So I'm just kind of stating a bit of that we don't completely forget about this, that we somehow budget for capacity to build, you know, to build technical possibility to really wipe things out, you know, out, whether that's exposed and how it's exposed in the UI at what points doesn't matter, but, you know, hard delete should be possible.
I think that currently, if you're talking about the technical possibilities of Operately, Operately is even more protective of your data. So it is not deleting basically anything ever currently. So it's even worse than what we had at Sanford, that we kind of didn't delete everything. So yeah, I agree. We should implement, I think, a universal cleaner, or, you know, something that is doing the deletion, let's say once per day or things like that. I think that ultimately that's the best decision, to have that, you know, once per day deletion, because it preserves the data long enough that you make a mistake, you can recover from it. It is not impacting the system. So I remember even back from, let's say, 2014 days of Sanford, like if you have accumulated years of build history, if you want to delete it right now, then it always, you know, impacts the performance of the system.
Yeah, deleting stuff is a heavy database operation when you're dealing with a lot of data.
Recently, I had a chance to talk with some students from the university, and there was some discussion of what is easy and what is hard to do. And the typical student answer is like deletion is very simple because it's like delete name of the table and delete. And then you're always in your head like, okay, I want to see your answer in 10 years. And then deletion will probably be the hardest thing that you ever do. What about sorting on this page? I kind of like systems where the folders are always on the top. But I'm also biased because every programming system that you touch organizes things that folders on the top, files on the bottom. What are your thoughts about this?
Well, I mean, everybody's a lot of people are sensitive about where their stuff is, but based on their personal experiences, probably in slightly different ways. I think sorting is one of those things that we will have in the backlog for, adding soonish. Sorting by name, by creation date, update date. Folders first. I'm a fan of that myself, also. It's hard to see. So if we stick to this kind of a list view, so every item is a bit tall, but it's a list view. It's not a grid view. In a grid view, if we were building a grid view, we would there are grid views where there's no sorting. It's just the way you left it, so you can drag and drop and rearrange. But lists are always kind of sortable. So yeah, it's hard to see a downside of like just having folders first and then files, really. And then having sort options.
Immediately as I asked that, and as you were talking, I opened Finder on Mac. Like so many options for displaying and sorting that.
Yeah, no, I mean, there we have to draw a line somewhere. Where do we stop? So we cannot build a total commander. Some saying defaults, and
I would say that, for example, dragging stuff and leaving where you placed it is not suitable for applications where multiple people are interacting with that view. But other things I think are in place.
yeah, I also wonder. I know we drew it this way, but also something for me to think about is like, okay, is it really better to have a button called add and then a drop down? Like, so it's never one click. No, it's not one click to download. You have to click on the three dots and then you go download. Like there's so much space on the screen. Like why? It's not like we will have 20 actions. So I would also visually at some point explore this view where actions are just laid out for you, for every, both globally and for every resource.
What are even the options now? Like it's probably delete and download. So it makes sense to have them.
Move.
For example, for the move, I wouldn't like to have always that icon for move. That for me is like, okay, just hide that and rename and stuff like that. But download is something that I would like to have instantly available.
Would some little icons?
Yeah.
Here, an icon to delete, an icon to download. I think even like a pencil, for you to add it. So you click the pencil and then you can add it.
Personally, I would combine those two things. We can also explore what it would mean to just lay out everything. But I feel that after the third icon that you introduce, it gets a bit too messy to just visually recognize the icons. But if we have like 1-2 icons that are very necessary and like commonly used, and the rest hidden behind the dropdown, I feel that would be the best solution.
That's pretty common. I mean, look at Google Meet, like at the bottom of your screen, you have a number of frequently used actions, and then you have a...
No, reduce that to half because...
Yeah, but the idea is the same.
Because now, as you said this, I noticed that there is a CC button that I never used in my life.
Let's try.
Oh, it recognizes it pretty well.
I feel intimidated to say something now.
You also say this?
Yeah. One more detail. So if we, so I noticed images do not have like click to sort of zoom, or so if I would upload a very large image that's wider than this paper surface, there would be no way for me to sort of really view it as a whole, not resized, but view it as in original size within the browser. I would have to download it, right? Let's see.
I think that in general, there are 2 solutions for this. One solution is when you click on view, it opens a new tab and then relies on what the browser offers you for zooming and unzooming and stuff.
Mm.
And then there is the other solution where you see a kind of full screen pop-up that has those zoom icons, but you are still on the same page. I think that Slack is doing something like that. The first option is obviously like a half an hour of coding. You add a link to the view and it just pops it up in a new tab. So maybe
yeah, that's I mean, that's sufficient in my opinion. Like just give me access to the file, to the resource, like on direct access. And at the same time, that is also I mean, depends. You would sometimes share the link to, let's say, the resource page, which is which represents the file, but sometimes you may want to share this direct link to the asset.
I think that for discussions, we already have something like that. I wouldn't be 100% sure. But if I remember correctly, below the image or below every file, there is like a view option. It pops it up. And the other is a download option. Which reminds me, how these files and folders behave with email notifications. Like what is actually sent if you create. I'm also okay if nothing is sent at this point, but if we are sending something, that how that looks.
Yeah, I think at the moment we're notifying almost everything, except for things like, I think, creating a folder and renaming a folder. I think those might be the only exceptions, but deleting, editing a document, creating a document, commenting, like all those things are sending notifications.
Yeah, the email itself is kind of like Igor added the file, name of the file, and the button view file.
It is probably sufficient. Maybe a bit too noisy. I don't know. In some cases, it can be noisy. In some cases, it is very useful.
But for all this stuff, you're going to receive the notification only if you're subscribed, right? So, for example, if you unsubscribe, then you're not going to be notified if someone comments or deletes the resource.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you received was let's say, a conscious choice by whoever created it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, when you create, I think we cannot see anything here because I think this space is empty, but you would have this list down here where you can choose who will be notified. So yeah, it is a choice of whoever created that resource.
Can we maybe jump to another space that has those things?
Let's see. No, I think this one has a lot. Yeah, so everyone will be notified.
Standard widget. For the demo, we can create like a message where it says like, the company picture from our last retreat, and then say to Midjourney to create those 20 people that we are having in the demo YAML file. I would be very curious how that looks.
To create an image where people from avatars are like on a retreat.
I mean, for the demo itself.
Okay.
There are these 20 avatars. We give it to Midjourney, and like give me, a retreat in, what is the best country to go to the retreat? Turkey. That's on my mind.
Yeah, but that'd be great. But not even sure if you can give it like, okay, here are 20. Maybe I missed it. I don't know.
This was kind of a joke. Just to. I
Yeah,
see
but
that
it's
you're seriously considering it.
okay. I mean, then maybe we can pause here. I don't know. As usual, we need to write all of these down, open issues, and Probably a few will be worth doing right after the project, and some others will leave for later.
Maybe you can remind ourselves. So from my recollection, the must-have feature is moving files around, because that's a must-have.
Correct, yeah.
The other things would be like visual adjustments here and there. I wouldn't say that's a must-have, it's a nice-have, but in that category of we really want to. And I actually don't remember anything else that is in the must-have category.
Probably not, but yeah, that's 95% true. Let's just verify asynchronously. The visual stuff is obviously not a deal breaker, but maybe I would like advocate for a few of them, just because if we would leave some of those for like many weeks and months, it kind of degrades, I think, the impression, because this is this is the first version ever, but it's already very powerful. So no, yeah, I would I wouldn't let a few visual quirks degrade the first impression experience.
I agree.
No, this is all normal. I mean, when you're going 0 to 1, there's so much backend work, all kinds of stuff, and usually there is I don't know. At least it's kind of like that for me. I don't have the same energy for looking at visual stuff when I'm working with a ton of backend stuff. But once the backend is in place, then and you take a bit of a break, then it's different.
Usually my, let's say, engagement level with a new feature is I like to reach that we don't have anything, then we have it. It works. It's robust. You can rely on it. Usually after that, I need to take a break just to recharge, to do some other short-term project, like whatever else. And then in a week or two, come back to this and like, okay, these are not so obvious, or all the context that I thought were obvious after 2 weeks when I come back to some screen, then it immediately becomes, okay, I don't even know what this is, and I need to fix it.
Yeah.
I see that we are here for about an hour. I think we can maybe even finish it.
Yeah. Congrats. Great work, Adriano.
Thank you.